Hi there! My name is Benjamin-Olaoye, and I am the founder of the Peak Network. Our mantra is building a mentally healthy continent. We believe that in Africa, we must help people develop mental resilience. As Africans and Nigerians and, blacks generally, there is a common cultural bias that you go to pastors, you go to imams, you go to the elders in your family to talk about your issues. But guess what? The world has grown, and right now we're dealing with a global mental health challenge. So we believe as members of the Peak Mental Health Network that we can reach every single African with the message of lifestyle choices. So in our curriculum, what we do is to teach lifestyle modifications, things that you could do in your everyday lifestyle to improve your mental wellness. And in doing this, we're able to come up with 5 basic subgroups. The first subgroup is corporate. In the corporate subgroup, we'll go to corporate offices to teach members of staff how to live a mentally healthy life in the workplace. We have the Peak Network Education, where we go to universities, secondary schools, primary schools, and every other higher institution, where we teach these students how to live with positive mental health habits. Then we also have the Peak Network Media. We go to radio, we go to TV, we do the traditional media, newspapers, prints, and all of that, where we encourage people and teach them mental health awareness. We also have the Peak Network Religion. We go to churches, we go to mosques, and we adapt the curriculum to suit the language of this environment. And lastly, we have Peak Network Community. In the community subgroup, what we do is that we go to markets, we meet baales, we meet kabiesis, we meet the kings, both in the north, in the south, and all over. We go to estates, we go to streets. We just go to the streets and teach people in street language, depending also on the community in which they live in. We teach them positive mental health habits because our goal is building a mentally healthy continent.
Welcome everybody to this beautiful event today. My name is Benjamin-Olaoye, and I'm super excited to be your host for today. Honestly speaking, it's been a delight being on this journey. And if you're new to the Peak Network, yes, that was an introductory video. However, if you look on our website, www.peaknetwork.org, you would discover that the Peak Network is also divided into 3 major segments. So we have Peak Network Men. On that tab, what you find is everything related to men's mental health. We also have Peak Network Women, where you get resources or materials on the mental health of women. And then we have Peak Network Teens and Kids. So today we want to talk about dealing with the guilt of abortion. It is not a secret that abortion is illegal in Nigeria. Therefore, the prevalent situation that you find in Nigeria are what we call criminal abortions. However, in as much as abortion is illegal in Nigeria, we also do know that every woman is still entitled to post-abortion care. But, and also because abortion is criminalized, you find many women use very crude methods in committing abortion. You would therefore discover that there are a lot of internal damage that probably has been done after the act has been carried out. I also find it pretty disturbing that it's not only it's only the physical aspect of care that is being taken care of. We do not pay enough attention, if at all, any attention at all, to the physical aspect of post-abortion care. For that reason, we decided to come up with this topic dealing with the guilt of abortion. And honestly want us to take a look at the emotional and the mental aspect of post-abortion care. Now, there are so many emotions that many women feel after abortion. Some women feel relief that they have been delivered from the shame of getting pregnant again. Different people have different reasons why they chose abortion as the path that they want to go. Some are filled with regret. Some are filled with guilt. Some are filled with excitement that, they can now live their lives the way they want it. Depending on who is looking at abortion, that will determine your perception or reception of the word. Anyways, today we have our main speaker, Melanie Meteri, who is joining us all the way from Canada to have this amazing session. Melanie currently serves as the executive director of the Caring Place, a counseling center for mental health in Regina, Saskatchewan in Canada. Prior to that, she served as the executive director of Pregnancy Center in the same city. Her personal journey through abortion, sexual abuse, and adoption has given her great insight in these areas. She has helped hundreds walk through the painful process of emotional and spiritual healing, and she has spoken to thousands of students. Through her work, she has traveled to Zambia and Uganda, sharing her life story and working with orphans. Her story has been featured through the media, and she is very passionate about helping people recognize the emotional wounds that hinder their lives. She is the author of the book, Will You Go? A Journey to Emotional and Spiritual Freedom. She can be contacted via her webpage, melaniemeteri.com. Melanie, I am super excited to be hosting you today on the Peak Network platform. Welcome.
Thank you, Priscilla. It's an honor to be here.
I look forward to an amazing time, and I know that you're looking forward to an amazing time as well.
I am.
Fantastic. So the floor is all yours. You'll be sharing with us in the next 20 minutes, and I'm super excited to listen to you. Thank you, Melanie.
Okay. I've learned that if you are a woman and you have gone through the experience of abortion, it doesn't matter to me what race, color, religion you are. Typically, many women feel exactly the same way. So I want to tell you my story. I was born and raised, obviously, here in Canada, and I was adopted as a baby. I was sexually abused at the age of 4. I have very vivid memories about that, and I'm a big proponent of people walking through their pain, obviously sexual abuse included. I became sexually active at the age of 14. Many people, many women feel very low self-worth and they will become sexually active. That's one of the reasons why they become sexually active at such a young age. And that was definitely me. My boyfriend and I were having sex for over a year, and finally it happened. We weren't using any protection. I was one of those people that thought, well, it's not going to happen to me. And of course it did. I became pregnant at the age of 15. I kept it a secret. I thought, honestly, if I told my parents, I didn't know what would happen. So it was a huge secret until I was 4 months along. And when I told my mom, she was pushing me to have an abortion. I couldn't do it. I was already 4 months pregnant. I could already feel things happening inside. And I chose to go through with that first pregnancy, and I placed my first daughter for adoption. 10 days after I had her, I honestly, that experience was extremely hard. Placing a child for adoption is extremely hard as well. And I went back 10 days afterwards, and I got her from the hospital. 2 years after that, I married my boyfriend, my first daughter's father, and everything was going really well. I had quit high school. I went back, I finished off my high school, and I wanted to take some training for this career. And I had a planned pregnancy at the age of 22. And then when I was 6 months into this training, I became pregnant again. So now this is my third pregnancy. I'm married. My husband had just been demoted from his job. Things were not going well financially. And I thought, I remember sitting there in my doctor's office and him telling me that I'm pregnant, and I'm thinking to myself, this cannot be happening now. And saying the same thing to him. And he said to me, Melanie, this is just a blob of tissue. I can take care of your problem. Of course, abortion is legal in Canada. And so 2 weeks later, I went and I said to my husband, what do you think I should do? He left the decision to me. And 2 weeks later, I was in the hospital having an abortion. Just stat-wise, I know we're going to be talking about what the statistics are in Nigeria, but in Canada, very close to 1 in 4, well, for sure 1 in 4 women has experienced an abortion, and it's very close to 1 in 3. So when I speak, I always say to people, you may not know of someone that has had an abortion. I guarantee you, you don't think you know someone, but I guarantee you that you know someone. It is not something that women go around putting their hands up typically and saying, hey, I had an abortion. There is so much shame typically and so much guilt. The way that my abortion affected me was I basically put it on a shelf and I said, you know what, this is not going to bother me. I had to do what I had to do. I felt like I was going to be making really good money in 6 months, and I had to do something to save my family. I started to drink a lot. I started to do some drugs, because when you've gone through that kind of what to me was trauma, but I did not recognize it as trauma, when you start to go through something like that, you will do whatever it takes to anesthetize that pain. And I say to people, it doesn't have to be necessarily drugs or alcohol. It can be anything that you are doing to try to avoid feeling that pain. And I was definitely doing that. Within 3 years, my husband and I were divorced. The very family that I was trying to save by having that abortion, I basically sabotaged it. Just before my husband and I divorced, I went out and I had an affair. It was like I was doing, I didn't care. I didn't care anymore about myself. I clearly didn't care about my family. I started to avoid anything having to do with babies. I would, you didn't find me going to, if I had to go and, oh, God forbid, if I had to go into a store, into the baby department and buy something for a friend who had had a baby, or going to a baby shower and they're passing around this beautiful baby to hold, and suddenly I would have to get up and go to the washroom. Post-abortive women can become very overprotective of the children that they have had prior to or after having an abortion, or they can become very underprotective. Unfortunately for my 2 girls, I became very underprotective of my kids. It was like, this is an analogy that I use typically if they went out into the middle of a busy street and they'd say, Mom, can we go out there and play? And this is not something that happened, but in my head, I was basically saying, yeah, you know what, just go out there and just be careful. What kind of mother does that? It wasn't pretty. I became very angry. I became very bitter. And typically within 2 years of a woman having an abortion, post-abortive symptoms will start. Mine definitely started right away. It was not until 19 years after my abortion that I realized how much of an impact it had had on my life. And there is an example that I like to use typically with people. I just came up with this idea the one day, and I do a lot of public speaking with teenagers and in different groups. And so if I take this box, and this box contains 16 blocks, and I want you to think about the pain that you've got in your life. If abortion is one of them, I want you to think about that pain that you've got in your life. And if you've never talked about it, in your mind, hand me over however many blocks that pain represents. It might be 4 blocks. It might be 8 blocks. You might start weeping and just hand me over the whole box. I've done many presentations in prisons here in Saskatchewan in Canada. And many times the inmates, when I do this example, they just start to weep and they just hand me over the whole box. Why do you think they're in there? It's because they've never faced their pain. They're in that trauma and they have never faced it. So if that pain is still in you, you're handing me over those blocks, but that pain is still in you. It's still there. It's still in the box. So if I take this block, and let's say that this block represents some love that I would try to give to you. I want to give this to you. Can you put it in your box? Will it fit in your box? Well, if I'm doing a presentation, I would ask people that question. And so I'm asking you, if this is you out there, can you fit it in there? If you're in pain, the answer is going to be no. And why can't you? It's because it doesn't fit. There's not enough room because you have so much pain in your life that you've never let go of it. So if you can't even accept this little block of love from me, how are you going to accept some from someone else? If you have not worked through that pain of abortion, if you've had that abortion in your life, if you can't accept this from me, how are you going to accept love from your boyfriend, from your husband, from your possible future husband? What is that going to look like? And let's turn that around the other way. If you don't have any love in you, how are you going to give it? How are you going to give it properly? How are you going to love your boyfriend or your husband? And let's push that a little bit further. How are you going to love your children? When I'm talking to students, this is one of the things that I will do to them. If you are a post-abortive woman and you have not worked through that pain, trust me, it is spilling out onto your children. My pain, I was not having a good affect on people. I was infecting people with my pain. So when I'm doing presentations to students, I will typically take this box and I will say to them, if you feel as though your parents don't love you, it's not that they don't love you. They love you. They just don't know how to show it because they've never worked through their stuff. So if this box represents your faith, let's say it represents God or your creator, whatever you want to call him. And trust me, it was a long time before I allowed God to come into my life. I didn't think he would want to have anything to do with somebody like me. But he was chasing me into my darkness. And what you need to do is start taking that pain that you've got in your life. And if there's anything that he represents, typically every religion, it's love. That's what he represents. So you've got to take that pain that you've got in your life and you need to start handing it over to him. And now you got some room for some love. And you just keep going. And interestingly, you think he can't handle your pain? Your pain fits perfectly into his box. When God started moving into my life, and I say this to teenagers, and I'm saying it to you out there, whatever your faith is, in my faith, the second greatest commandment is you shall love your neighbor as yourself. But when God started coming into my life, I would have always said, oh, it's you shall love your neighbor. Well, that's not what it says. It says you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Well, if you don't love yourself, What is that going to look like? It's this example all over again. You're not going to love others properly. You have to love yourself first. And the way to do that, the way that I found to do that, was I went through a post-abortive group. I went through a post-abortive program. And actually what happened was I wanted to volunteer at the pregnancy center that I ended up being the executive director for. And the director at the time, I came up to her during the training and I said, I think I have some issues with regard to an abortion I had a few years ago. And she said to me, have you been sexually abused? And I said, yeah, but it wasn't a big deal. Because that's what we do when we've gone through that kind of trauma and that kind of pain, or if we've had an abortion, that's what we tell ourselves. It wasn't a big deal, but it was a big deal. And until you move through it, and until you have somebody come alongside you that doesn't show any judgment, that pain is going to stay inside of you. You're going to continue to make decisions through that filter in your life. And possibly one of them will be ending up to get pregnant again. I've had hundreds of women go through the post-abortive group when I used to be the director at the pregnancy center here in the city. And some of them would have not just one abortion, it was 2 abortions, it was 3 abortions. The one woman who came in had 7 abortions. And the reason for that is because subconsciously, when you have an abortion, you are, when I'm doing school presentations, I say to these teenagers, I think we can all agree that when a woman has an abortion, something or someone is now lost. So subconsciously for a woman, you know exactly what's happening. And that something or someone is now lost, and you will do whatever you can to replace it. You cannot replace that child that was aborted. When you go through a post-abortive group, what you do is you end up grieving for that which is lost. That's what I did. It made a huge, huge difference in my life. Interestingly, I remarried again shortly after I had divorced my first husband. And interestingly, when I came to know my second husband, the first thing that I said to him after we'd gotten to know each other was, well, you know what? I've had an abortion. Do you still love me now? It was like a test. I was pushing people away with my pain. The other interesting thing about that is the sexual abuse that I had gone through. I didn't tell him about that until 10 years after we had already been married. So when you have that kind of trauma in your life, when you have that kind of pain, that's my mantra, is to please, if you've gone through trauma like that, you got to find somebody that you are able to talk it out with, somebody who is not going to judge you and is going to help you through it. So that's my message, Priscilla. There's lots of other post-abortive symptoms. If there's a woman out there who has gone through this experience, please, Google post-abortive symptoms. You're going to find probably you're going to check most of them off. If that's you, please go get some help.
Thank you so much, Melanie. Thank you so much. We deeply appreciate you for that beautiful conversation. Let's watch this quick video as we come back.
Ko kun san yin gum da bakunanmu a yanayin duk lokacin da muke cikin matsala shine abin da muka fi saba yi? To hakan yana faruwa ne saboda tsoron tsangwama da kyama a cikin al'umma, ba tare da al'umma ta san ya kasance kanka cikin wannan matsalar. To suna na Salma Yusuf, ni wakiliya ce ta PIC Network. ƙarƙashin jagorancin Priscilla Benjamin-Olaoye. The Peak Network za ta yi tattaunawa a kan nadama ta zub da ciki ranar 17 ga watan Yuli shekarar 2020. To don kallon wannan maudu'i na nadamar zubar da ciki za mu karɓi bakuncin babbar darakta ta Caring Place wato Melanie Material wadda za ta zo a tattauna tare da ita na wannan zama da zare. Idan wannan maudu'i da muka ɗauko maudu'i ne da kake so ka tofa albarkacin bakinka wato ita ce ansa, to danna botirin link da yake wayarka sai mun sami a filin tattaunawa.
Quickly, we will be going into our question and answer segment. But before I do that, I found, Melanie's story quite touching. And what stood out for me, and I know it will stand out for a lot of you, is the analogy that she's done with the box. If you have no space, love cannot feel it. Therefore, dealing with this emotion is basically so that you can have a life, live in the present, and enjoy the quality of life that you desire. I will definitely bring Melanie back, right now, so that we can take our questions and whatever it is that would like to share or want to say. Let's deal with this life. I would also be bringing on right now our first panelist. Our second panelist aside Melanie. She is Dr. Aishatu Musa Maliki. She is a lecturer in the Department of Nursing Science of the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Kaduna, Nigeria. She graduated from the same department in 2010 with a BSc degree and obtained her registered midwife certificates in 2011 and 2014, respectively, from the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria. Dr. Musa Maliki, in 2011 and 2012, she enrolled and obtained a postgraduate diploma in education, and she went ahead also to take a master's degree program in disaster and risk management in Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, where she successfully graduated in 2013. In 2015, she proceeded for her doctoral studies in nursing science at the University of Cape Town, South Africa, and developed a screening tool as modification for abuse assessments, which she currently uses in northern Nigeria amongst women. She uses this tool to aid midwives to effectively screen pregnant women for intimate partner violence in their antenatal visits. She obtained her PhD in 2019. She has taught many undergraduate courses in nursing and a few at postgraduate level. She has supervised numerous undergraduate students projects and some postgraduate students as well. She has published both in local and international journals and has attended several local and international conferences. Her research interests are in maternal and child health, disaster emergency, preparedness in nursing. In fact, she is a consultant, for gender-based violence, and she sorts out ethical issues in nursing. Hello, Aishatu. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Hi, Priscilla.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Oh, it's good evening, right?
It's evening. Good evening.
Fantastic.
Thank you for that fantastic
It's
introduction.
so nice having you. I'd like to introduce our third panelist. She is Olajumoke Adebayo. She is the young midwife leader for the International Confederation of Midwives. She designs sustainable reproductive, maternal, and child health solutions for women, girls, and young people. Olajumoke is a teen lead and the founder of Repro Life. Repro Life is a social enterprise focused on improving the health and well-being of women, girls, and young people. They provide affordable sexual and reproductive health services such as family planning, and she has worked with women and girls in various communities in Lagos, Ogun, and Oyo State. Olajumoke is passionate about seeing a world where women and babies survive and thrive through creation of programs and enabling policies that improve quality of care, access to skilled birth attendants, and increase in women's access to knowledge and information about their reproductive care. Let's welcome Olajumoke Adebayo. Jumoke, how are you? Good to have you here today with us. We're super excited to have you here as a panelist. And I'll be, taking these questions straight. Melanie, are you there? Melanie, Aisha, and Jumoke. We're going to be taking these questions and we'll be rotating these questions around for the next, we'll take these questions around for the next 30 minutes. Aisha, first of all, I'm going to leave you for the next 5 minutes to at least put in some word about our topic today, dealing with the guilt of abortion. You have the floor for 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Priscilla. Abortion is the termination of pregnancy. It can be planned or unplanned, and you will expect the individual that have gone through abortion not to have guilt or anger or frustration or depression since she planned the abortion herself. But that is not the case because the planned abortion might be due to coercion from the partner or neglect or poverty, which will not add to the mental stress of the individual after the abortion and but also lead to neglect. Also, women that have undergone that are in abusive relationship, they tend to have more unwanted pregnancies since they cannot negotiate contraceptive use or condom use from their partner. They end up having unwanted pregnancy as a result, which might lead to abortion. I'll find out that abortion is the third cause of maternal mortality in Nigeria, and it is we should know that abortion is illegal in Nigeria to except to save the life of the woman. But nevertheless, women still undergo abortion secretly. We get to see these women in the hospital when they develop complication from the abortion. Well, as a midwife, we also have to treat them and advise them and give and counsel them about the act they committed, and hope that it will not repeat itself and they will take good decision when next such an event happen.
Thank you
Thank you very
so much,
much.
Aisha. Thank you. Thank you so much, Aisha. Thank you. I think that was a beautiful opening. Olajumoke, you want to say something for 5 minutes before we take while our questions are being collated?
Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Olajumoke Adebayo. So for abortion, I work with a lot of young people, and abortion is something that is also common with young people. We need to understand that most times, because of abortion is illegal in Nigeria, except in a case where to save the life of the woman, a lot of young people have to go quacks and backdoor abortions, and this causes a lot of trauma for them. And because of this, there's a lot of issues of guilt and a lot of complications. Apart from the mental health issue, there's a lot of complication with bleeding, and so that's why Nigeria also has one of the highest maternal mortality rates, with and abortion is one of the leading causes. So we need to also understand that because of abortion being illegal, there's a lot of shame and hush tones around abortion, which makes it even more complicated. And the country, also a very religious country, it also makes it very difficult for people to talk about it or even share their experiences with abortion. So it's very difficult for people to move on or move past their traumas from abortion. But it's always very important that people try to share this in safe spaces or with people that they trust, so that they can be able to move past the mental issues of abortion, and also, as much as possible, avoid getting pregnant. If you can get access to contraception, get access to contraception. If you have to negotiate condom use, negotiate condom use, because that's a very important skill to have.
Right. Okay. I think we lost her just a bit there, but I'm going to go ahead with the questions, and I want to first of all ask this question around. I know that Aisha and Olajumoke work with a lot of women hands-on because of the kind of job that you do. You're both midwives. Melanie, is armed with counseling skills and emotional support for some of these women. I'm going to start with Melanie. Melanie, what are the common stories you hear for a lot of young people or married women who opt for abortion? What are the most prevalent reasons that you hear? I know it's different in Canada. The laws that protect women over there is different from the laws that protect women in Nigeria. But you know that a lot of times before abortion is decided on, there has to be a justification, something justifiable in the mind of the woman. What are the common justifications that you come across in your work?
Well, money obviously is one of the main ones. They don't think that they can afford to have the child. Another one typically would be they are in university and, well, now I'm not going to be able to finish my degree. There have been cases where, of course, the boyfriend will say, I'm not going to stay with you unless you have this abortion. And many times that's one of the things that will happen is she will hear that he's not going to stay with me unless I have this abortion. And she will go and she'll have the abortion and then he will leave anyway. Yeah, there's lots of different reasons why they have it. And that's one of the great things about pregnancy centers. I don't know if they have pregnancy centers in Nigeria. I know they were trying to start to have them in Zambia. I'm pretty sure they would have some now. But if you can be with that woman and not be judgmental as to what her reason is for having the abortion, many times if you're just with them, they will end up going through with the pregnancy just because now they have somebody walking alongside them and they don't have to be fearful anymore. But yeah, there's lots of different reasons, but for sure, money is one, education is another. I already have 4 children. I can't have another one. Yeah, there's numerous different reasons.
I get that. Olajumoke, what's the common reason? I mean, you're a youth couple at the moment. You're serving, and fresh out of school and all of that, and you do a lot of work with young people, younger than you, those who are still undergraduates, and I'm sure those much older than you, because I know that your profession allows you to intervene even with people who are much older. So it makes you grow up very quickly. So tell me, what are the common reasons that you have observed, that you've observed why young students or young people or people who you have encountered in your line of work, because you're the founder of Repro Life. So in your work, what have you observed as the common reasons?
Okay, so I've observed from both married women and unmarried young girls. So I'll start with the unmarried young girls. For the unmarried young girls, a lot of times because young people have a lot of different sexual practices. So most of the time, it's not it's probably not even their partner, or like the boyfriend or someone they are planning to spend the rest of their lives with. It's probably someone they just wanted to probably have fun with for a night, and then they got pregnant. So that's one of the reasons. And in cases like that, you see that sometimes it's demand that the guy that is pushing for the girl to have an abortion. Another case is also due to school because most of them are in school. So they know that they can't take this home because they're also a lot of shame from shame, disappointment. It feels like they're going to disappoint the whole family or everyone that knows them. Also, money is another issue. Career is another issue. They do not think that at that point of their career they're ready to start having kids, so they opt for an abortion. For the unmarried with some of the points that Melanie mentioned are actually also very common here in Nigeria. I've had some that would tell me that they're not mentally ready to have a baby now, or they just had a baby. The baby is just probably like 7 months, and then they're pregnant again. They tell you they're not mentally ready, or they're not ready financially for another baby. So those are some of like common things that I actually hear from women, both married and unmarried.
Fantastic. Aisha, please let me come to you with the question of being powerless or having a, the not being the, one who has enough power to make the decision. Because I heard you say that in your introduction, and I found that really fascinating. So for a woman who feels, she was not a, decision maker as to opting for abortion, usually what do you do afterwards to care for, the emotional backlash that she eventually still feels, or the guilt or the regret or whatever it is that she's going
Well, a woman that is being coerced or pressured to commit abortion, she usually feel depressed and feel guilt, she grieves over the whole thing. And it's difficult for her to cope and to overcome this feeling. But she can overcome this feeling by one, learning relaxation skill, eating healthy, to avoid self-isolation because sometimes they just want to be alone and grieve and grieve. And they should also talk to someone they trust, they know they can trust, and discuss to relieve the pain, the burden inside. And also they should and also they should sleep very well and eat healthy and try to take
to.
care of their mental stress. Thank you.
Right. Right. Okay. Thank you. We have a question that has popped up, from our live viewers, and is asked by Asmao Dahatu. She says her question is that what can we do as individuals to help women, especially the young ones, not to have abortion, instead use other options? Because I believe there are always other options. As to options that are available, so what options are available? I'm throwing this question to Aisha. What options are available?
Okay. When a lady that is not mentally or physically ready to get pregnant, one should abstain from sex. Two, if you must indulge in sexual acts, you should use contraceptive. Three, if you will not unfortunately get pregnant and you don't want you don't want to commit abortion because of your religion or your personal belief, you can have the baby and give it to motherless baby home because there are women there looking for children. They are crying day and night to their God for God to bless them with children. And I think if you can have the baby and put it off for adoption to put a smile on someone that is looking for child for years, I think it would be a good option. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me throw this question to Melanie. Melanie, there is usually the the secret. So first of all, the reason you committed the abortion was because sometimes it's because of the shame that comes with being pregnant. But then there is the fear of revelation later. This trying to keep it secret that an abortion was even done. How does one even still deal with this despite the guilt that is overwhelming?
Well, one of the things I learned as I went through the post-abortive program is there's guilt and there's shame. And guilt can be, if you have a faith, it could be your creator or God asking you to turn back to Him. Shame is typically the feeling of you are bad, but that's not true. Typically, as human beings, we are good people. It's not you that's bad, but you may view what you've done as bad. And so it's getting through that, being able to forgive yourself and receiving forgiveness for what you may view as what was done that was bad. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does make sense. Thank you. I want to move quickly to Olajumoke. I have this question regarding guilt by association. So, because there are quite a few people who are also watching that are not male, that are not females, or probably their boyfriends or their husbands or their sisters' friends, people who've counseled some other person to go have an abortion, and then later they begin to deal with what we call guilt by association. How do you respond to that? How would you recommend, or what would you encourage anyone going through this? How would you encourage them to deal with it?
Okay, so it almost so what I would say to someone that had an abortion is also what I would say to someone that's having guilt by abortion, because most times you're feeling guilty almost the same reason why the person that had an abortion is also have been guilty. So I would first say that I would always say, always first resolve it with your faith or with your spirituality. You need to resolve whatever feelings you have with God. Or I am a Christian, and I know people have their faith. So I would always say, whatever religion you practice, or faith or spirituality, always remember that your creator or your faith loves you, or your creator loves you, and they don't want you to move away. So always remember that. And secondly, also think about if you probably helped somebody at that time, because at that time the person, some of the reasons that we mentioned why women always opt for an abortion, it probably was a very, very good decision for the person at that time. So always think of it that way. And it's not like you only gave an advice. It's not like it was left for the person to decide to go for an abortion or not. So you have to always understand that you gave your advice. However you feel, just always remember that it was probably one of the best decisions that the person made. And then also always still remember to always forgive yourself. Always forgive yourself. That's a very, very important factor. If you can't learn to forgive yourself, then you will not be able to resolve that guilt with yourself. Always forgive yourself. If you feel really, really guilty, always forgive yourself, basically. And then also remember to love yourself. Always.
Those are pretty profound. I'm going to allow us to share our last words, our parting words for those who are watching this question and answer panel, and then I'll come back and round up. I'll start with Aisha. Aisha, please go ahead and give your last words.
Thank you, Priscilla. Abortion still remains illegal in Nigeria, and especially in the north, with the religion frowning and frowning at it, that should not indulge in it. But we find out that with the digital age and the exposure to internet and social medias, many things has been happening with our young generation that involve in it. Secretly, we might not know if they have committed it or not. But what I will say is, if you have and you have depression or guilt or whatever, seek help. Seek help, because suicide is not the way out. And also, those that are committed the abortion and they need post-abortion care, before you even they should seek a medical a professional to prevent the complication from becoming more severe, and so that their life can be saved and prevent future infertility. Thank you.
Thank you. Olajumoke, your last words as we move on.
Okay, so I know that abortion is only legal in Nigeria, except to save the life of the woman. I also want us to also understand that, in as much as we know that there's somebody that maybe went through an abortion, if it gets to a point of bleeding, always encourage them to go to the hospital, because the law doesn't have anything against post-abortion care. So it's important that you please encourage them to go to the hospital immediately for treatment. Their lives can always be saved, so that we can always reduce maternal mortality. And then I also want people to understand that always have a friend you can always confide in when it comes to issues of guilt, so that you can always express and share how you feel. Always remember to love yourself. It's really never your fault. Sometimes these things happen. Even sometimes with contraception, it might actually fail, which is the truth, and it happens. So always remember to love yourself, always forgive yourself, and always resolve it with your faith or your religion. And it will go a long way in helping you deal with the guilt of abortion. Always remember to resolve it with your faith and your religion.
Jumoke, and for young people, I specifically, what do you want to say regarding
for young
secrecy,
people,
shame? Yeah.
Okay, so for young people, first of all, I would always say get contraception. Try to get contraception services as much as you can. It's your life and you're still very young, so get contraception. About secrecy, even if you don't feel guilty about it, be careful of who you say what to, so they don't make you feel bad for what you did. So you have to be very, very careful of who you also talk to. And then don't be ashamed about what you did, because it might be one of the good decisions you did. You just do not know yet, but do not feel bad about it. And then if you have to go through the pregnancy, please try to drop for adoption. In Lagos State, if you drop the babies at the hospital, for example, Mass Hospital, the government will take up the baby. So you can always drop the baby for adoption at the hospital. So please do not be ashamed, and try to always have somebody you can confide with.
Thank you. Melanie, I will come to you, and I'll let you give your last words. And I also want you to address parents who have teenagers and young people who get pregnant, and the reason they risk their lives and choose to go over to commit abortion is because of the shame that comes with being the parent of this young girl who is not going to have this white beautiful wedding. And so we celebrate those who committed several abortions and condemn those who get pregnant. It's the culture and religious considerations of our environment. So I want you to speak to that and give your last words.
Okay. Well, when it comes to parents, I know my own mother was definitely ashamed. I wasn't allowed to go to school. All of my homework was sent home, and that definitely put a lot of shame on me. One of the things that I would say to young people when they would come into the center, when I was the director of the pregnancy center here, they would say, "Oh, my mom and dad are going to kill me," when they find out that I'm pregnant. And I would always look at them and I would say, "Do you think your parents have never made any mistakes?" So I would ask that to any parents out there. Please remember, we've all made mistakes. It's what you do with your mistakes that makes you the kind of person that you are. Hiding them, making it a secret and everything, that is not going to help. My last words that I would say to people are, if you are a post-abortive woman that has been listening today, and I know abortion affects men just as much. You know, that's one of the things that I dealt with at the center too, was having men go through a post-abortive program. But if you are that post-abortive woman that has been listening today, I want to encourage you to please go get some help. I know you're probably feeling like you are the only one in the world that has done this. You are not. There are people that want to help you. There are people that love you. And there's people that want to walk beside you. You are worth it. Go get some help.
Amazing. Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you, Olajumoke. Thank you so much, Melanie, for joining us today. And in rounding up this event today, I want us to understand that we have a few events coming up. You know, as I said, with the PIC Network. On the 31st of July, we have the event tagged Supporting the Supporter. It is a hangout for family and friends of individuals battling emotional and mental health challenges. If you have a loved one, if you have a friend, if you have a neighbor, and you honestly don't know what to do, or you've been providing support for them, now we want to provide support for you as well. We're having that event on the 31st of July. And on the 29th of August 2020, we have our first ever Emotion Literacy Summit. This is for teenagers and children between the ages of 6 and 18. We want to teach you how to understand your emotions, label your emotions, manage your emotions, match what we call mix and matching of emotions. That's basically what we want to do. And it's going to be strictly for children and teenagers between the ages of 6 and 18. And this emotional literacy summit is the first of its kind that I have seen around here. And we'll be having amazing facilitators take these young people through the sessions. There'll be syndicate sessions and all. Let's watch this video quickly as we round up.
The Peak Mental Health Network is recruiting volunteers. Are you passionate about people's emotional health? Are you passionate about teaching people how to live healthy lifestyles, especially lifestyles that will contribute to their mental wellness? We therefore are encouraging you to come in for our Train the Trainers course. And guess what? It is free of charge. We do not charge any amount. So we encourage you to come in for our Train the Trainers course, where we take you through our curriculum and then you become a mental health ambassador. Do you think you can take this message to other parts of Africa aside where you live? Then we'd encourage you to come join this train as we take this message of mental wellness to the continent. Our mantra is building a mentally healthy continent. Welcome.
Thank you for joining us today. We deeply appreciate your time. We appreciate the energy that you put in. My last words as I go is, if you are dealing, like Melanie has shared, I have thoroughly enjoyed her. I've thoroughly enjoyed every bit shared by Olajumoke, shared by Aisha too. And these are the conversations that we need to have. We live in a very hypocritical society. In fact, some people even didn't want to like the post the moment they saw the flyer because they didn't want to be associated with the topic. They didn't want to be associated with anything that had to do with it. However, the truth of the matter is that you cannot allow what other people think and feel to determine the course of your life. When you're dealing with guilt, as Melanie has shared, you have no room for positive emotions. You have no room for growth. You have no room to let anyone love you. So honestly, I would encourage that if you know anyone who is battling with this life-crippling emotion called guilt or shame, I would encourage that you ask them to watch the replay of this video. It's available on our YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel actually, with my full name, Priscilla Benjamin-Olaoye. It is available on our official page, the Peak Network Women and the Peak Network NG. You would also find this video on our website, www.peaknetworkng, sorry, www.peaknetwork.org, www.peaknetwork.org. You would find this, and you can share any of the resources that you also find there. Help somebody today. Choose not to live in the past. Choose to believe that the future that you have has gifts embedded in them. Till we come your way again on the 31st of July with our next event. See you. Bye-bye.